Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to continue looking at getting started with the Kruleboyz in Age of Sigmar Warcry using the contents of the Stormbringer magazine. In this particular video we'll be looking at issues 14 to 20, however not all of those issues will feature models that are usable in Warcry or indeed for the Kruleboyz. The specific issues of the magazine that have these units if you wish to pick them up are going to be issues 14 and 18. Today's video is brought to you by Waterfront News and Lotto, located in Devonport, Tasmania. They stock a wide variety of Games Workshop D&D, Star Wars Wargame and paint products and so much more. You can follow the link in the video's description to check out if they've got something for you today in their store. And so the first models we get are in issue 14, and that is the Manskewer Boltboyz. Now the regular Boltboyz are pretty solid fighters. They've got 15 wounds, defense of 4 and a 4-inch movement with a solid ranged attack that has 2 shots at a 6 to 15 inch range at strength 4 and 1 damage normally, but 4 damage on a crit. They've got a couple of attacks in melee as well, which are 1-3 on the damage, so crits are not too shabby with them. And they've got a couple of rune marks there, obviously besides the regular Kruleboyz one, in the Warrior and Trapper. Now this is going to mean that they have access to a couple of different abilities for the warband, which is nice. The first of these is going to be Venom Encrusted Weapons. This is something anyone with the Warrior rune mark gets, and until the end of the activation you add one for the damage points allocated to enemy fighters by each hit and critical hit from attack actions made by the fighter. Now that's pretty cool enough because that can definitely boost up their range, but they've also got Aim Shot, where a fighter can only use this ability if they've not made a move action. If the fighter's next action is a missile attack action, critical hits are scored on a 4+ instead. So you've got the options here. If you're moving about, I'd definitely be using Venom Encrusted Weapons. If you're staying still, I'd be using Aim Shot to get those crits on forwards. Some really cool ways to get some extra damage out of what is a solid unit to begin with. Now then we have the Boltboy boss. Now we're going to get one of these inside the magazine. You'll generally get one for every 3 models you purchase if you purchase the full size kit. If you grab the ones from the starter set that came out, Dominion, or from the Getting Started, they actually won't have these particular boss models in them, but a Boltboy boss we will get in the magazine, and this model gets an extra attack at range. Its combat strength as well when it's punching in melee also goes up to strength 4 with 2/4 on its damage as well, so quite a bit decent there. The model also has 20 wounds instead of the 15, making it a relatively decent fighter. Now this model will have the same rune marks as a regular Boltboy, so we'll get those abilities we've already talked about, but then we'll also get the ability for the leaders, and this one is called the Cunning Attack, where a fighter with this ability can only use this if there's more friendly fighters with the Warrior rune mark within 6 inches of this fighter than there are enemy fighters within 6 inches of this fighter. Those fighters can each make a bonus move or bonus melee attack action. Now you can choose to have some make a move, some make an attack. It's worth noting that in Warcry you don't count as in range of your own ability, so you're not counting this particular model. But this does obviously mean that other Manskewer Boltboyz, things like Gut Rippers and even some of the Bladeborn warbands, are going to be affected by this ability. Next up we have the second member of the Cunning Crew, and that is Torka Toughskull. This is the only other actual Orc model we've got inside the Cunning Crew. Torka Toughskull is pretty decent, a 2-inch range with 3 attacks at strength 4, 2/4 on the damage. What's cool is the model also has 20 wounds. Now this makes him sort of equivalent to other sort of boss models, but he doesn't have the leader rune mark, which is nice. So this frees up the options to take other leaders in the force, while still getting a model on similar stature to things like the Gut Ripper bosses and stuff like that. Now the model has the Warrior rune mark, the Cunning Crew rune mark, which obviously grants the Kruleboyz rune mark as well, but it's also got the Scout rune mark, and this is going to give the model access to a double called Sneaky Snares. This is only available to Cunning Crew models with the Scout rune mark, and you get to pick a visible enemy fighter within 2 inches of this fighter, roll a dice, and a 2+ until the end of the battle round. That enemy fighter cannot make move or disengage actions. This is really good because if you've managed to sort of pin someone in place with this model, you can then obviously have someone like Malok de Cunning, who's been hiding, pop out and do some real good stabbing. Now, the next members of the Cannon Crew are all the different Hobgrot members we've got, and the first of these is Kruleboyz. Kruleboyz is essentially like a Hobgrot boss. Now, the model does have a ranged attack of 3 to 5 inch with 2 attacks at strength 4, 2-4 on the damage, which is pretty nice, and also 3 attacks at strength 3 with 2-4 on the damage in melee. He's only got a defense of 3 and 8 wounds, so he definitely isn't going to be sticking around in any sort of major fights, but he does have a couple of extra rune marks there as well, which is nice for the champion and minion. Now, these are going to give him access to a couple of different abilities, and the first of these is going to be the Gang Up ability. This is given by having the minion rune mark, where you can pick a visible friendly fighter within 6 inches of this fighter that has both the Cannon Crew and minion rune marks, not yet activated, and they can activate that fighter immediately after this fighter's activation ends. This is pretty cool. It means you can sort of chain all these different grots one after the other. If you've got a couple of doubles with you, it's going to be really nice to allow all the grots to punch one after the other and hopefully even try and take someone down. Now, the model will also get the extra ability, which is going to be really nice, and this is going to allow the model some extra sort of punch in combat, and it's called Stab 'em Good. This is a triple, and until the end of the battle round, you add one to the attacks characteristic of attack actions that have the dagger rune mark made by friendly fighters with the minion rune mark while they're within 6 inch. Now, the dagger here means things like Shankle, have it, and Gick it as well, which is really nice, boosting up their attacking power as well. Next up, we do have Gick It, as just previously mentioned. This model is pretty decent. He has 3 attacks base, only at strength 2, but 1-3 on the damage, but of course this can be increased in different ways. And what's really cool with Gick It actually is he's a Hobgrot that actually has access to venom encrusted weapons with that warrior rune mark. This also means that he benefits your characters when they try to use things like cut and attack as well, which is really useful. An extra 55 points to get another model that can help outnumber, I think, is really cool. He's defense 4 and 6 wounds, so definitely not survivable in any way at all, though strength, defense 4 and 6 wounds does mean your opponent generally is going to have to put in a decent amount of attacks. It's probably going to have to use a whole activation of attacks if they're only like a 2 attack model into this fighter. And then lastly, we have Shank. Shank has 3 attacks at strength 2, 1-3 on his damage. He's got the minion rune mark, so he can chain off sort of all the other fighters, as we've talked about with Gang Up. 6 wounds, defense 4 again, which is really nice. And the Scout rune mark here. This means that the model is going to get access to the special ability Sneaky Snares, where you can stop an enemy unit being able to move or disengage on a 2+ with a double. Really cool ability, just allowing you an extra model that can do this for the cheap is really nice in your warband. And so our sample army list today is obviously going to be with the Kruleboyz, and we've spent a perfect 1000 renown out of the 1000 renown we have available to us. First of all, our list, and to start with our heroes, we've gone for a Boltboy boss and Manok de Cannon, but then we've also taken the Swampcaller Shaman that we talked about in previous videos. Fighter wise, we've got all the other members of the Cannon Crew. I think the Grots here are just far superior to the regular Hobgrots you're going to get. Gick It, Kruleboyz, and Shank are all there, and then Torque Tough Skull as well. Like I said, this is essentially bringing another leader into your warband without having to actually take up one of those leader spots on a Gut Ripper boss or something like that. We've then got the Pot Grot because he does provide healing, and we've also got a Man Skewer Boltboy. Battle Group 1, we're going to have be Manok de Cannon, Torque Tough Skull, and our Pot Grot, getting our best fighters in there with a little bit of healing behind them. This is just going to charge forward and do the damage for us. Battle Group 2 is going to be all the Grot together, Kruleboyz, Gick It, and Shank all working together. This is how you sort of want them near each other. If you can get that 2 doubles in a round and get them sort of piling into one fighter together, they will do a decent amount of damage. And then lastly, Battle Group 3. First of all, we have the Boltboy boss, a Man Skewer Boltboy, and our Swampcaller Shaman all in there. They're all going to work nicely together, providing some shooting, but also the Shaman has its own short-range shooting, but can also provide them with some defensive buffs as well if enemies get too close to our long-range shooters. We hope that this video was helpful in getting you started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar using the Stormbringer magazine, and that I was able to give you some ideas and inspiration to use those forces on the table. If you have any other questions at all, please comment down below, and while you're there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and join our Discord server for all future content for the Stormbringer magazine in Warhammer Age of Sigmar.